All right, guys, this is Mark Holthe, and we're trying this number 2. And this time I'm going with my Canadian Immigration Live Q&A directly to YouTube to see if this works. But for whatever reason, the live stream to YouTube wasn't working through my Restream connection. And I'm not even sure if this is going to work here. So we'll test it out, see if there's any notifications. If this doesn't work, then, well, I guess we'll have to maybe postpone this and redo it tomorrow. But yeah, what do? You do the best you can. Okay, it looks like it seems to be working, Igor says. Okay, that's great. All right, so you guys need to be patient with me, all right? We've been very, very fortunate. We have not had many glitches at all as we've tried to connect and do these live streams. Remember, you guys are paying how much for this live stream? Maybe what I should do, there was this. Okay, I'm gonna post this one right here. Okay, so hi, it's okay now, love you. Okay, so Femke here says it's working. Yes, it is. No, tomorrow. Okay, so in the previous comment, Femke says that people were getting irritated or something like that. Well, Femke, how much are you paying for this? And maybe what I need to do is to set up a private group where people actually pay to get access to this. What do you think about that? And then I could hire a tech person to manage all the technical difficulties, and then everything would flow perfectly. What do you think? Do you think that would be a great idea to charge everybody a fee to watch these videos, and then I could afford to have a tech person? What do you think? So maybe FMK, whatever your name is, World. What do you think? Do you think that would be good for us to do to start charging people and have a private group, and then we could, and then I could hire a tech person to manage all this, because we're doing it basically for free, all on our own. So what do you think? Let me know. I can tell you, I'll answer the question myself. There's no way I'm going to do that. The whole purpose of doing this is to help you guys and to give you information to protect yourself from people who are giving you advice that you can't trust, to protect yourself from yourself when you think you understand everything and then things go sideways and then you lose your opportunity of immigrating to Canada. And understand, people out there, there are so many people that are, that are actually duped into thinking that this is so easy and that they don't need any other assistance. And you can just do it yourself because of all this free stuff that's online. Well, I don't know if one of the people on this feed right now who's already reached out to me will maybe confirm that it's not as easy as it looks. Maybe you can post a comment and I'll pull you in, but I'm not going to mention you by name because I'm looking forward to working with you and helping you. But yeah, it's so easy. The smallest little thing can result in applications getting returned, whether it's express entry, whether it is any type of immigration application. Okay, so yes, we know it's working. It's great. Okay, so we talked about Ravi had already sent this comment in, and it was basically about the fact that we've had a round of invitation. And what I'm going to do, anyone who is also on the Canadian Immigration Institute Facebook page, can you tell those people to slide over and join us here on YouTube? And because I'm only able right now to broadcast directly to YouTube. I don't know what the issue is, so it's not going live on the Facebook page right now. So make sure that you let people know that if you can go on there and comment, and maybe Igor can help me with this too, because I don't want people now on the Canadian Immigration Institute Facebook page or Express Entry Law or Periscope now wondering what's happened. So Igor, maybe you can reach out and just let people know to slide over to the Canadian Immigration Institute YouTube channel. Okay, this is going to be a shorter, abbreviated one, but I definitely want to get to questions. So let's flip over here and we're going to take a look at this right now. And what Ravi is lamenting is the fact that we just had another open draw. And some people are celebrating with big thumbs up. Other people are quite sad and disappointed because they were hoping a CEC draw would happen that would pull the scores back down for people in Canada. So people outside of Canada, it's dropped down to 472, which I wasn't sure, I'll be honest, if it was going to get down to that level. But just today, back to back now, we've had open draws, and there were 4,200 people invited through Express Entry. So that is, for those of you who are involved in this process, we don't know what's going to happen. For a while there, I thought maybe they would rotate through federal skilled workers, CEC, federal skilled trade, or PNP, and then start over again. So the first of the month was always open draw, then middle of the month was CEC, but that's not the case. So it looks now that they have done obviously another open draw. So what's going to happen? And maybe you guys can comment below. What do you think is going to happen? Do you think they're going to do another open draw, or do you think they're going to do a CEC? So maybe 2 opens and then 1 CEC and then 1 PNP. Who knows? We will have to find out. The key though for you guys is that you have to be prepared for whatever comes. You just have to. And you never know what's going to happen. And so give yourself the very, very best chance you can of success. And then it's just, well, there's an element of luck to it. Okay. All right. So we've got it's working. It's great. Okay, let's get to this question from Agam. He says, hey, if one does a master's full-time along with full-time work for FSW program, would that be a problem? No. This is one of the biggest discrepancies, or I should say misconceptions out there, that overseas you can't go to school and work at the same time and get credit for that work experience. Now, if you're working full-time versus part-time, you definitely need to be able to explain how you're able to do both. But there's no restriction whatsoever on claiming both during the same time period. All right. Okay, Clara's next here. She says, to apply for FSW from outside of Canada, does one's work need to meet the employment requirements listed under the respective NOC to claim points? So the answer here, I'm going to flip over to the website here, and we're going to go right into, let me just see here, FSW eligibility. I'm not sure if it's in here or if I have to go straight to the actual ministerial instructions. But one thing, when it comes to skilled work experience under the federal skilled worker, all that you need to do here is show that you have performed the duties set out in the lead statement, as well as all of the essential or main duties listed in the NOC. And so you do not have to demonstrate that you have performed any, or that you meet any of the education or employment requirements that are set out in the bottom of the NOC. And so let's go here to NOC 2016, and then we're going to pull up the National Occupational Classification, and we're going to see exactly what's being referred to here. So if we go into the NOC here, and let's just pull up a title. Let's say, well, actually, let's just go to NOC, and we'll just pull up 1122. So this is your typical management consultant. So if we do a search here and we open this up, as soon as it opens here, it's thinking. And then we scroll down, you can see these are the activities in the lead statement. You need to show that you've done all of those. And the main duties, you need to show that you've performed a substantial number of these main duties. Anytime it says may right here, that's optional. It's not considered to be an essential duty. These ones here, substantial number of the main duties, I usually round it up to about 75%. It might be a little bit less depending on the number that you have here, but generally that's kind of the realm that I'm looking at. Now here is what I'm looking at in terms of the question that was just asked, employment requirements. If you're claiming foreign work experience, do you have to demonstrate that you meet these employment requirements? The answer is no. So you can see here, a bachelor's degree is usually required, graduate degree to get certified as a quality auditor, maybe required certification, and then health information, same thing. So all of these employment requirements have nothing to do with the federal skilled worker assessment when you are claiming foreign work experience. Now, it's important to understand, guys, that when you are doing this assessment, if you are claiming experience as a rocket scientist, okay, and you have no education, then there's a good chance that immigration is going to question whether or not that job or that work experience you're claiming is actually genuine. Because typically rocket scientists require some form of post-secondary education. In many cases, an actual PhD is often required. So if it's so out of whack that it just doesn't make sense, then they could come back and question whether or not your work history is actually genuine, that you actually did it. But aside from that, these employment requirements are not mandatory. All right, good question. Good question, Clara. Okay, Agam says, I will manage that for you. Agam, you are the person. Thank you. That would be awesome. Okay, Saksham says, why is there no CAC draw? We just talked about that. Nobody knows, other than the government has their plans. They've got their statistical data that they're relying upon, and no one knows. We were wondering if it was going to be the progressive rounds that would switch from open to CEC to, to PNP, but we've seen 2 in a row. So my question for you guys, everybody here that's watching, do you think that this is actually going to continue with open draws? Or do you think maybe there's going to be 2 open and then the next one will be CEC? I'd love to hear your comments, what you think. Okay. All right. Amir says we appreciate what you do. I know you guys do. I know you do. Okay. Neil says it is your generosity. You bet. Okay, so let's see here what Mixed Videos Mentor has to say. He says he visited the UAE for 3 months on a visa, and those stamps are on the current passport. So can he upload those pages with the passport section in one file and have a copy of the visa as well? Do I need to upload? Guys, when it comes to the personalized document checklist in Express Entry, when you click on that little information button, that little question mark, it pulls up an explanation as to what you're to provide for your passport. It says your current travel document. That's it. That has all stamped or marked pages. So you're going to include in your current passport all pages that have any stamp or marking in them. And that's the extent of it. That's what you need to include. Okay. Femke says, no, bro, sorry. It's all good. Of course not. Of course not. I'm going to charge you guys, but I was just having a little bit of fun with you. Okay. All right. Because understand, you might be frustrated on your end because I'm not going live. I am just as frustrated on my end. You can imagine, put yourself in my position when I know people have become very, very reliant on me coming on, answering questions and doing what I can to help them. And so, yes, she says, I knew you were kidding. Of course. All right. And we've got lots of people. I didn't say that to have people post all these comments about, oh, Mark, you're the best, blah, 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 blah. That's not why I do it. The satisfaction I get, guys, is knowing that I've helped you along your journey in some way. And it's always hard because everybody online just assumes that, the sole purpose of doing anything is there's some ulterior motive. Does Mark Holthe have an ulterior motive to answering questions freely on YouTube? Yes, I do. And I'll tell you exactly what that motivation is. The motivation is simply this, guys. I want you to believe that I, Mark Holthe, Canadian immigration lawyer, actually know what I'm doing and that I can actually help you and that you don't have to rely on some fancy website or this rock bottom fees to entice you into hiring me if you choose to do that. If you're choosing to hire a representative, the whole reason I do this is to show you what I know, to show you that I am one of those people that believes that things come around, that believe in karma, that believe that when you give and give and give, that the people who then truly do want help and assistance, and we'll see if the one person connects in who just ran into a little bit of trouble with Express Entry, and now has asked me to help them after the fact. But the whole key for me is to help you understand that if you do choose to hire a representative, that you should hire me. Absolutely. That's what my motivation is. But in keeping with all of that, there is no better way to do that than to give. And so giving, kindness, sharing, helpful information, that's my strategy. Isn't it insidious? Isn't it this tricky secret way of trying to get people to hire you? Not really. But who in their right mind? The crooked, unscrupulous people out there who are just trying to steal your money and not give you anything more than you can get for free on the internet are the people that'll never do this, because very quickly the lack of knowledge that they have is exposed. And you can see very clearly that they don't know what they're doing. So usually people like that will have fancy websites or fancy marketing campaigns, or they'll try to lure you in by telling you exactly what you want to hear. Like, oh, I can get you a job offer. Oh, you're eligible for Express Entry. Give me 1,500 Canadian dollars and I'll help you file your profile. Or I'm an expert. That's my personal favorite. When people put on their website, I'm an expert immigration consultant, or I'm an expert immigration representative. If I put that on my website as a lawyer, the Law Society would be all over me, because I can't tell anyone that I'm an expert in immigration. I can't, because you have no way to measure that expertise against anyone else. Like, what does that mean? All that I can do is demonstrate and show you what I know. And that's why for the past, wow, it's been a long time, 3 years, 4 years. How long have I been doing this? That's why I do what I do, to build the relationship with you, to build trust. All right, let's get back to these questions. And for those of you who are tuning in, I do want to let you know one other thing here, and that is right after this one at about 11:15 Mountain Time, I am going to start my very first episode of Immigration Nation, which is going to be a separate playlist on the YouTube channel. My good friend David Chalk from Quebec is going to be joining me, and we're going to talk about the Quebec immigration process. And many people don't understand how it works. It's this mystery. We're going to talk about why Quebec has their own deal. You know, we're going to talk about some of the distinctions, the differences between the regular programs through IRCC and those that go through the province of Quebec. And David's going to share some tips on some of the most common problem areas that people run into. And he's going to share some personal stories about himself, about his practice, about some of the ways and, you know, some of the heartbreaks he's seen, some of the awesome success stories he's had working with clients. And that is what Immigration Nation is all about. It's designed to help you guys realize what it means to be represented by an immigration lawyer. Because in the world, there is so much misinformation about it. You know, our industry is dominated by non-lawyers. And I just want you guys to understand the real difference. And it's not fees. It's not. There are consultants out there that charge every bit as much as lawyers do. There are lawyers that charge astronomical amounts for their services. And both of them, lawyers and consultants, also charge low fees. So the goal is to bring lawyers on each week to share their story, to share why they do immigration, their passion, because immigration lawyers, as far as I'm concerned, are awesome. And every single one of you deserves the right to be represented by an immigration lawyer. And David Chalk is actually trying to connect in already. So I'm going to send him a little message and say, hold off for a second, David. Then you can connect with me in just a few minutes. So 1 second here. I'm going to send David a little message and he's going to say, hey, Mark, for a second, I am just on my live Q&A. I will connect with you right at 11. There we go. David's super excited to join me. This is going to be so awesome. Okay, let's keep going through the questions. Okay. All right. So let's see. So Rama says, I met the cutoff for today's draw. That's awesome. Congratulations. See, there are people that are super excited about this. Okay. So substantial proof of funds. I've sold a substantial amount of shares, mutual funds recently. Do I need to explain transaction in the last 6 months? I do. If I have this big injection of money into my bank and over the last 6 months, you know, the average balance obviously was low and then it shoots up, whatever it is, I always provide an explanation to help IRCC to know where the money come from, where it came from. So great question. Okay. Okay, so here's a question here. This one is from Anna. She says, I'm from India. Just have a question whether the rest of the application will get processed even without giving biometrics because centers are closed. The answer is very rarely will they waive biometrics. There are some circumstances when they will do that, but in the case of permanent residents, it's not going to happen. I can't see any circumstance where they're actually going to waive the biometric requirements for permanent residents. For some work permit holders, we've seen the willingness to waive, and the borders also have the ability to do biometrics right at the ports of entry. Although right now, they're resisting. All right. Okay. Okay, Amir says, it's really hard confirming. I am Amir from Toronto. We talked also on Skype before. Great, Amir. Great to connect with you. Do you think the September 30th is an FSW draw? I don't know, my friend. That is the question of all questions. Victor's in New York. Hello, Victor. Okay, Shamod, same question. Those of you who are wondering, are they going to start issuing these PPRs and COPRs, the passport requests and confirmation of permanent res? Are they going to start issuing these overseas to people who are waiting? We just, and I can't remember what I've showed you and what I haven't showed you. Let's jump back here and I'm going to share my screen with you again. Canada-US border closures. will likely be extended until November. So this is something that we're now seeing as a likely result. Look at the cases. India, the US, even in my own family, my son's class, when he went back to school, one of the students had COVID. And so the whole class got shut down. The teacher, the students, they all had to come home. They had to self-isolate. We as a family self-isolated with my son. He had his test on Sunday. Of course, he was negative, but that's the precautions that Canada is taking. Until COVID starts to be under control, I do not see the passport requests coming through for people overseas because of the travel restrictions. All right, good question. Thank you for asking that one. Okay, next on the list, let's see what we have here. And yes, Amir, there are millions like you. I know there are so many out there. Okay, we've got cheers from Mexico. Is it right that if I need an ARC, I won't be able to make it unless I go for PR? It is very, very likely that's the case. There's always miracles, right? There always is. But an authorization to return to Canada happens usually when someone claims refugee status or there's otherwise removed from Canada. They're deported. And so in those circumstances, those individuals need an authorization to return to Canada, an ARC, in order to do that. And really, if it's only in context of permanent residence, subject to some exceptions, will that be available? So that's a good question. You can see that was an immigration one that's kind of out there, right? This is not just about express entry. It's about everything. Okay. Tanvi says, thank you for all the help. I have withdrawn an application that was in the pool due to problems. Now resubmitting it. How should I answer? Have you applied to Immigration and Refugee Canada before? Do you know what, guys? It doesn't matter what you put in there. Well, okay, let me rephrase that. It does. Many people who've submitted a profile understand that profile is not an application to immigration. An application really only starts from the time in which you submit your EAPR. So you get your ITA, you submit your EAPR, and then something happens, and then you have to resubmit because it gets refused. In those cases, 100% of the time you have to do it. But for me, even when someone has a profile, you're still given an E number. And I will often, in my letter of explanation, address it. I'll say, please note, I had a previous profile submitted, and then I withdrew it for these reasons. I have a client right now that we're working through that process. They received an invitation to apply, but they're really struggling getting the work history for the principal applicant. Fortunately for them, they can easily flip the spouses around and make the other one the principal applicant, and they're going to have an easier job of getting the work history that's needed for express entry. So in the letter of explanation, I'm going to indicate, please note, spouse A, we withdrew or declined the ITA because we were having trouble getting the work history. And so therefore spouse B is now, we're putting them as the principal applicant, and everything's great. I just explain it. I explain everything that I need to explain. It's the best way of dealing with it. I leave nothing to chance. All right. Okay, let's see here. Okay, this one is about legal name change for marriage. So if I explain my post-marriage name change in LOE and upload the marriage certificate, is that sufficient? Or do I also need to add one in the same person affidavit? No, the marriage certificate, it's common knowledge that when you change in many, many countries, one spouse will take the surname of the other. It's so common. So the marriage certificate is usually what I submit, and then a little explanation that says, please note, after I was married, I took the name of my spouse. All right, great question. Okay. All right, let's see. Neil's got a deeper and uncertain question for you. Okay, let's see if we can answer this one. Considering the number of students entering Canada, do you think the next year the CRS cutoff might reach 500 and kill any possibility for SSW? I'll tell you guys, I don't think so. And the reason is because these students understand, still, many of them, if they come in, don't have any work experience. Often they come in as international students because they've completed an undergraduate degree in their home country, or started undergrad and then finished it in Canada, or did a master's. In many cases, they don't have work experience. And so they will get those extra 35 points for Canadian work experience, but that often still keeps it into that 460, 470 range. And even if they come and take a bachelor's degree in Canada, they are getting the extra 30 points, which does make a huge difference. But lots of people come and study and only take a single program, like a one-year diploma. 1 or 2, and then they only get 15 points. So no, I don't think it's gonna push it up over 500. Could it push it to the higher 470s? Yes, that's possible, but not 500. I can't see that happening. Okay, let's see here. Okay, here's a good question. This one's from Victor. He says, hey, I got a request to do an RCMP police check, but it was only for me, not my wife. We're both in Canada. There's only a spot to upload the doc for me. Any reason for that? Do you know what, Victor? Just go ahead and do them both. The only reason that they're triggering you is because the name search that they do revealed that maybe there was someone with a similar name that had a record. So they're requiring you to do that fingerprint to verify that you are not the same person that has that record. So really, your wife, they're not asking for it. But if you're both going in, sometimes I'll just go ahead and just do both people, upload them together in the same document in that same spot. Don't forget to submit it. So even though you upload it, when you guys have extra documents you've been asked to provide, you can upload those into your EAPR document checklist, but you still have to resubmit all of that back in. And unless you follow the process to resubmit it, then your profile won't update and immigration won't think that you've actually done it. Good question. Okay. Okay, so here's another question. Elaine says, hey, can anyone land in Montreal, in Quebec? And this is going to come down to David in our discussion right after in Immigration Nation, with a COPR as a new migrant arriving in the country while heading to the nominating province. So on the surface, there's nothing stopping you from transiting through Montreal as your first point of arrival and then going somewhere else. But I would be very, very wary of having Montreal as your destination on your ticket. In the end, you have to demonstrate that you have an intention to reside in that province. And if you have your ticket's one way directly to Montreal and nowhere else, then you've got some explaining to do to the officer. Is it possible? Yes, it is. But I personally avoid it like the plague. Unless there's some very, very significant reason you have to fly into Montreal, I actually don't. I go to another province, another airport, Vancouver, Toronto, Calgary, wherever, Regina, Saskatoon. I do not take any chances. Anything can happen at the borders. All right. Okay. Okay, so here's a good question. I'm going to tell CF, join me in the next one when David's on and ask me this question. This one tends to be more related to Quebec-based, and it's also borderlining on this one, which is legal advice. And so the key here is David's going to join me. He's a Quebec-based immigration lawyer at about 11:15. So stay tuned for that, and it'll be right here on the YouTube channel as well. All right, let's see here. What's next? Okay, so this is Agam has already asked this about doing both school and work at the same time. Totally possible. Totally possible. But you have to make sense. You have to be able to, in a letter of explanation, in my opinion, explain how you could do both, work full-time and school full-time. And it's not easy, guys. All right. Let's keep going here. Yeah, so when it comes to this question here about police certificates, yes, absolutely. I get police certificates for both. So I'm not sure exactly what you're talking about, but if you're coming from Pakistan and the whole concept of being based on where you live, I always will get everything that the IRCC instructions state. And without spending too much time, I'll just shift back here. And I'm going to show you guys, let's see here. Let's see, we'll talk about the biometrics later, but that is one update. So if you go here, please, PCC, IRCC, EE, maybe that's enough. Let's pull that up. Police certificates for immigration. Okay, let's go back to the other one and we'll choose the first one. See which one it will take us to the place the fastest. Okay, all right. So this is talking all about what you need. And then let's see if we can find the link, find out how to get police certificates. So for example, if we're talking about Pakistan, oh, there it was. You can select your country right here, and then you follow these instructions directly, specifically. Do not divert from them. So you can see every place has different rules. So you can talk about, if you live in Pakistan, it talks about how to get everything here. I follow these instructions explicitly. So yeah, so that's what I do. I follow those instructions, and it's really not any more complicated than that. Obviously, your spouse needs to provide her police certificates. So that is why I would encourage you, if you feel you need to do that, then do that. The same thing for her. Okay. Okay, great. Ravi posted on Facebook. Thank you for doing that. Letting people on Facebook know that we're only YouTube today. Okay. Let's see here. Let's see where we can go here. Okay, so this one, Nibbin asks a question that I'm going to ring the bell on. Anytime people are asking me questions about whether or not they should decline something or proceed something else, I need a whole lot more information